Welcome to InterPartyConflict, the podcast where we answer your questions so you can have the best tabletop gaming experience possible. My name is Gabe.
And my name is Jeff.
And we are going to answer your questions today. But first, I have a question. Jeff, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. I got a nice cold can of RC Cola.
Mm-hmm.
You can insert like a...
I thought you were going to make a sound when you finished, so that's why I wasn't saying anything.
Oh, well.
Anyway.
It's not as full as it once was, so I can't get the good sound effects off of it. But,
there you go.
But
there you go.
I chugged the first half of it because it was delicious.
So
we are not sponsored by RC Cola yet.
I would love if we were. Oh, before we get into the episode, I just want to mention a little update. So I've been really dragging my heels editing our actual play podcast that we recorded in January.
Yeah, there's marks in the carpet where he was dragging those heels of his.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yep,
that's good. I really do want to try to get it done soon though, because I don't want to just keep putting. I haven't put in music or sound effects or anything, but I've got the first 3 episodes of the 6 we recorded edited. Like cut to be listenable. I really want to try to get all 6 done this month. Possibly also add music this month. Mm-hmm. Now that doesn't mean that it's going to be coming out this month or it's even going to be coming out next month. I cannot say when I will be happy enough to put it out, because once we put it out, then we got to stick to a schedule.
Right, exactly. You want to make sure that you have the other ones close enough to finish to where
at the very least I want to make sure that we are on track to be making more.
Right.
So
we don't want to leave a big gap. So we don't. I feel like that's more disappointing than having to wait for it to start, is if there's like a big gap in the middle.
So anyway, thank you all for being patient.
Yeah, it's like waiting for the last season of Game of Thrones. It just
I guess
I can wait the week between each episode, but I can't wait the year and a half between each season. Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So just an update. I'm going to try really hard to get the majority of the work finished by the end of this month. So stay tuned. I will try to give some more updates as it goes.
Cool.
All right. You want to jump into this episode, Jeff?
Yeah.
All right. I want you to imagine, Jeff, you are going through a dungeon.
Oh no.
I know that's it's difficult to imagine.
What level am I at this point? I've been through so many dungeons.
Here, roll this die, Jeff.
Okay.
You're level 10.
Oh, sweet.
He got a 10 on a D20 roll.
Okay. All
so
right. Maybe I should make an actual character for my going through dungeons.
Maybe you should. Yeah. Maybe you should. So you're going through this dungeon. There's all sorts of traps everywhere. I'm not going to make you roll for the traps just yet, at least. You're dodging some spears that stick out of the wall. A blow dart shoots past your face.
Yeah, only the penitent man may pass. You kneel and then
there you go.
Your head.
There you go. Your companion that's with you, he's about to die. Don't worry. Don't get too attached to him.
What's his name? I didn't learn it.
I don't know. He's played by Alfred Molina, though. He turns around and you see his back is covered in tarantulas. Anyway, he dies or whatever. You're in a room. There's a golden idol on a pedestal.
Okay.
You've got a bag of sand in your hand.
Yep.
You're measuring the two.
Take a little bit of sand out.
And oh shoot, you took out too much, and it's all on the floor. It's gone down the cracks of the pressure plates. Whatever the case, you swap out the sand for the golden idol. The whole temple starts to shake. Uh-oh. I guess it's a temple. I didn't say it was I said it was a dungeon. Whatever. Right. It's a temple dungeon.
Right.
The whole thing starts to shake. And so you're running, and you hear a very loud grinding sound behind you.
Uh-oh.
And you take one glance over your shoulder, and there is a giant spherical boulder rolling at you incredibly fast. Give me an athletics check to see if you can get away.
With proficiency at level 10 is a plus.
Don't ask me to remember stuff. Oh, no. Jeff, tell our listeners what number you just rolled.
I don't want.
Okay.
It's a 1.
Well,
rolled a 1.
Someday in the future, an archaeologist with some sort of futuristic whatevers will be coming through this temple dungeon, and they will find a very flat skeleton.
Oh, no.
just behind a giant boulder that rolled and crashed into a wall. And they realize that, you must have died, but hey, that golden idol, it's flat, but hey, it's still gold.
Right.
That golden idol, that's going to go somewhere. You know where?
Where's that going?
The futuristic Dragon's Hoard.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Sorry, disclaimer, this is not a futuristic Dragon's Hoard. I wrote myself into a corner because I said that it was in the future. So why would it be going to a Dragon's Hoard in the future with future gadgets? I don't know. Don't call me on this. Anyway.
This is the struggles of the Dragon's Hoard intro.
Exactly. So today's item was submitted by Jason via Discord.
Oh, yeah.
Our good friend, Jason.
Woohoo.
And this item is called the Explorer's Hat.
Okay. All right. So this was an Indiana Jones thing.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Yes, it was. And so Jason, he wrote this item. I made some changes. I took some liberties with it. I hope Jason doesn't mind. Okay. But I think I kept the spirit of what he was going for. Mainly, I added one thing that, in my opinion, is vital to this particular.
I don't
item.
know if we've mentioned Jay in his booming voice before, but I imagine if he is upset about the changes that he's made, you will all hear about it.
Yes. From across the country or the globe, you will hear about it. So this hat once belonged to an old explorer, though the fact that it was found in an ancient trap-riddled tomb gives a hint of what happened to its previous owner. The explorer's hat contains a bit of the essence of the old explorer, granting aid in times of need. Whenever the wearer makes an intelligence check related to traps, history, or deciphering glyphs, runes, or other languages, the wearer has advantage on the check.
Cool.
And I slightly changed what he had. What I've got here is that this ability functions once per short rest, but its use refreshes anytime the wearer narrowly escapes death, which would be the DM's call.
Okay.
I think Jason had it as 3 times a day. I thought, let's spice it up a little bit.
Sure, I kind of like that. And I feel like you could be pretty loose with that because it's they defeat a monster. That's escaping death in a way, or
could be,
or you dodge a trap, or you make a dexterity save or something like that.
I'm thinking like if a trap goes off and almost kills you. Yeah, that sort of thing.
You could be pretty loose with the interpretation there. So
yeah, and then additionally, I added just one last little feature here. Though attunement is not needed to use its primary ability, if the wearer is attuned, the hat somehow makes its way back to its owner whenever it is lost or destroyed. This ability only ceases to function when the owner is no longer attuned, such as in the case of an untimely death.
Okay.
Because, in Last Crusade, Indy goes off a cliff or something like that, or they think he's gone off a cliff, and then they're all looking over the cliff oh no, he's dead. And then he's looking over the cliff too. And then they're like, wait a minute, I thought you were dead. Anyway, they leave, and then the hat just blows by and he
picks it up.
Puts that back on. So anyway, I thought that would
there's the whole
little extra bit there.
The whole Indy's hat thing where he reaches under the falling wall thing to grab his hat. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. So anyway, that was it's pretty. It's just a neat thing. It's useful for exploring stuff. I just thought let's have a little bit of fun with it.
Yeah, for sure.
So that was the Explorer's Hat submitted for the most part by Jason via Discord. So thank you, Jason. Jeff, if anybody wanted to submit magic items for the Dragon's Hoard, or if they had questions for us to discuss on the show, or stories for the funeral pyre, how would they get those to us?
They could send us an email at InterPartyConflict@gmail.com.
There you go. And before we go any further, we have a giveaway today.
Oh, yeah.
We actually didn't have one last week because of I had a story. Last week instead.
It was story time.
But I mean, we were running low on entrance anyway, so I'm not
sure.
I'm not super concerned. I'm sure we'll get through everybody sooner or later.
Yep.
So, Jeff, who is our winner of Chapel on the Cliffs, the very, very spooky and fun adventure from Goblinstone? Who is our winner today?
Our winner this week is Kieran.
Whoa, winner. Gobble, gobble, gobble. Yes, congratulations, Kieran. You should be getting your copy in your email within the next couple days, hopefully within the next week at most. If you have not gotten it within the next few days, then be sure to let us know. I can usually get that sorted out. Yeah, and be sure to let Goblin Stone know what you think. I think it's a great adventure, but if you think it's good or if you think it's bad, let them know, and they can continue to improve and make better products.
Yep.
And then I also want to thank all of our wonderful patrons for making this all of this happen. We have a Patreon campaign. If you are not aware, Patreon is a online service where you can pledge to donate a certain amount of money per month to a content creator. We've got a few different tiers on there with various rewards for the different tiers. We've got fantasy fiction. Our episode last week was one of the fantasy stories, one of the short stories that I've written. I wrote that in November of last year. I make one of those every month. I put quite a bit of work into to all of those to make sure they're as good as possible. So if you liked last week's episode, hey, $1 a month will get you one of those every month. Not an audio version every month, but the text story at least every month. In addition, on the lowest tier, we've got outtakes. On the next tier up, we've got our monthly bonus podcast, InterPartyConflict. We just started going through some more of those text adventures, the Parsley games.
Oh, right. Yeah. That's fun.
That's a lot of fun. We'll be probably doing some more of those in the next few months. And then we also have, on the top tier, we've got a monthly Roll20 game, which will be happening within the next week. We're going to be doing the Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 RPG again.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun. And then also, if you're the top tier, I will write about your character for the fantasy fiction as well. So yeah, there's some cool rewards on there. Go to patreon.com/InterPartyConflict. Check it out. If anything looks good and you want to help out the show, make everything better and better, then think about contributing. And hey, if you can't contribute or you don't want to, then hey, just tell a friend, maybe leave us a review on iTunes so we get more traffic.
Yeah.
Anything you can do to help out would be most appreciated.
Yes.
So, and thank you to all the people that have. And then one last thing before we get into the questions, check out the other podcasts on the Crit Nation Fellowship, Crit Academy, critacademy.com. It's a great podcast where Justin, Ian, and Brandon make new and reusable content for DMs and players alike. Also, they made a book recently that I helped write, which you can find if you just go to their website, like I said, critacademy.com. It's a great book full of lots and lots of player tips, DM tips, character ideas, and counter concepts, all that kind of stuff. So go check them out. Also, D&D Character Lab, Garen and Dan make characters every week and then pit them against each other and debate whose is better. And Brute Force and Ignorance is a great actual play on the network, and they are having lots of fun and playing D&D.
Cool.
So check all of them out, and yeah, have a great time. All right, Jeff, you want to get into some questions?
Sure.
Cool.
All right, this first question comes from the DM's Council on email. How would you go about putting a mole into the party?
Yeah, I thought this would be a good topic for us to discuss because both of us in some way or another have experience with this.
Sure, yeah, there was that one time when we had a gnome in the group, so they were able to telepathically talk to small burrowing animals. What's funny?
I mean, what you're saying is true, but... All right. Good job, Jeff. Good job. I'm shaking Jeff's hand. Good job.
No, so there was a time when we were playing Age of Worms.
Yep.
And Gabe had taken me aside and said that my character was going to be replaced with a doppelganger.
Yeah. So one of the adventures, it's not 100% vital to the adventure, but they say, if I recall, they say in there, like, if you can, try to get one of the players to willingly be replaced by a doppelganger. And so I don't really remember the circumstances.
Hey, I can't quite remember.
It's been so long.
I feel like there was a time when we were, like, I was captured or there was some imprisonment at some point.
Yeah.
That happened, I feel like. So, like, there was some time where we were separated, and that's when it happened, I believe.
I guess.
I don't remember exactly what you had me do.
I think just guide the party to the dungeon.
Sure.
Like I said, I don't think it's super vital to the adventure. It's just a neat little thing they threw in there. So, yeah, if you want to have either a player get replaced by a doppelganger or have a player join the party that ends up working for the bad guy or something like that, what's the best way to do that? Generally speaking, I would say you want to make absolutely sure that the people involved are on board.
Right.
Because it would be kind of the worst thing in the world to, like, force that on a player, or to just kind of say like take control. You don't want to take control of the player's character.
Right.
We'll probably talk about more of that as we go on with the episode, but I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm not saying that players should never be okay with this, but it would be kind of a lame thing for a dungeon master or a game master to do, to say to a player, and now your character does this and attacks, turns on the party or something.
Yeah.
For the dungeon master to wrest control from the player of their own character.
Yeah, you don't want to steal the agency of the player.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't want to like take the character away from the player, because I know with the doppelganger situation, like I was still playing my character sheet.
Yeah, because the doppelganger was trying to act like you.
Right. Yeah. So like, I still had all the same stats and everything like that. So like, I wasn't like, you didn't take away the cool things I was able to do,
Yeah.
So I still was able to do them. I just had a slightly different motive,
Sure.
Yeah.
So with this sort of thing, because this is going to be a hard thing to do and have it work 10 times as much so if the player is not 100% on board.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I guess let me just, and again, we'll get to more of this as the episode goes on, but let me urge players out there, be willing to sometimes work with your DM in ways that go against the party.
Yeah.
Because like that can add some much needed tension, some much needed drama, some, dare I say, interparty conflict. What if I had said something other than interparty conflict?
I would have done a spit take having not drinking anything in a minute.
Oh, that's gross, Jeff.
I've already finished my RC Cola, but there would have been RC Cola.
Yes. So it's just like a little fun thing to do. Try not to get too concerned with like, well, my character wouldn't do this or whatever. Like if the DM comes to you and says, hey, I want you to do something to go against the party just for a little bit. Just like think about it. Try to be okay with that, because as long as you trust the DM and DMs, as long as you trust your players, like that can be a really fun thing whenever it happens. So with something like a mole, I've dealt with that a couple times. Like we said, I asked Jeff to be temporarily replaced with a doppelganger.
Yep.
Jeff's character was fine. Don't worry. In fact, I had the doppelganger show up again because they spared it. They didn't kill it.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I had in the very final adventure, they encountered another adventuring party consisting of Jeff's doppelganger.
Right.
The character Jeff was playing at the beginning of the campaign, because he swapped characters.
Yep.
And an NPC that was Jeff's current character's father.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, there was like a little, I think you had like a small group for each of for each of us or something like that.
I honestly don't remember. All I remember was that there was a party of Jeff related characters.
Right.
Basically.
Yeah.
So I had Jeff be a doppelganger for a little while. And in that case, I gave him, I think I told you like basically what its goals were.
Yeah.
I didn't really have to give you too much of the actual content of the adventure. Just here's your motivation.
Right.
Here's what
yeah.
you're trying to do.
It was sort of like, leading the party in the right direction. But I feel like we just ended up going there. Like, I don't remember putting much effort into it.
I don't remember it being a huge part of the adventure.
Yeah.
So we probably could have done without it, but it was fun.
It's
still something that I think about to this day.
Exactly.
I guess I don't think about it that much because I can't remember a lot of the details.
Well, right. We just know it's part of the story. So it's just one of those tiny details you bring. We're like, oh yeah, and I was a doppelganger for a while. Wasn't that weird?
Sure. And then there was another campaign I was in when I was playing as my character Artemis Redsleeves. In that campaign, there was a point where another player was going to be joining the group. And this other player was friends with the DM. Like we knew him, but he had, for whatever reason, he hadn't been playing with us for the first few adventures.
Yeah. This
new player joined us and he was playing like a little kid. And then it turned out that little kid had magic powers because, hey, that's an interesting character concept. A little kid, we're just escorting a little kid somewhere, and then he freaks out when he sees monsters and shoots them with like a blast of crackling black energy or whatever. Hey, it's 4th edition.
Right.
Whatever. I'm fine with that.
Do like a Shazam sort of thing.
I suppose, yeah.
Wasn't there like a class or something where you had like a different form?
There was, and that was, I want to say it was on the guy that made Order of the Stick.
Yeah.
I think he had it on his website.
Yeah, because I feel like it started making a character with that at one point. Yeah. I don't know.
But anyway, there was, so he was in our party for a couple sessions, and then there was one session where he was running late. So we were playing without him. The DM said, he'll join us when he gets here. We're getting up to the dramatic climax fighting that, we're about to encounter the big bad we've been following for the entire campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And the other player showed up. He showed up. He took off his coat. He was sitting down waiting for when it would be a good time for his character to show up.
Yeah.
We open the door to the room with the big bad.
Uh-huh.
And his character is standing there.
Right.
And he laughs at us and transforms into the big bad.
Uh-huh.
And we realize he has been the big bad the entire time. They worked this out on purpose.
Right.
Him showing up late that session was on purpose.
Right.
In order to give him a dramatic, thing.
Entrance.
And that was a huge turning point in the campaign.
Yeah.
Not only because a couple people in the party died, but just because that sort of thing had never been done to me.
Mm.
We had done the Age of Worms, but that was on a much smaller scale. That was like from one session to the end of that session, I think, was the extent.
Yeah, I don't think it lasted more than 1 or 2 sessions.
Yeah,
the doppelganger thing.
But oh man, it still shakes me to my very core. But that, I imagine, was really hard to do, and hard to do. Like, you got to trust each other. Mm. You got to trust the players as the DM. As the players, you got to trust the DM. Trust is the big thing. Make sure that you are open, you are communicative. You want to make sure that you guys are on the same page.
Right.
And if you're on the same page, it's going to go great. Yeah. I think.
Yeah. And then, DMs like take good input from the player that's helping you out. You know, again, you don't want to dictate exactly everything that the player's doing, because then you're taking away that player's freedom.
At best, give them guidelines.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like this is the end goal. Mm-hmm. Go at it how you feel like it, basically. Yeah. Like, you're still playing a character and you're in control of that character, but I'm just giving you like an end goal to go at. Like, you want you want to lead the players into this trap.
Yeah.
Do it however you want, And
I guess, I don't know how this would exactly articulate, but try not to set it up so that the other players will hate that player.
Sure. Yeah.
Because so the player that was playing the big bad, mm-hmm. after the big bad ultimately escaped, the next session, that player was playing a different character. Like, he made a character and he was playing an actual character in the group.
Right. But then everybody was sort of like,
I mean, there was still, whenever I would look at him, it's like, but players try not to be mad at other players, especially if it was just the DM had this idea and wanted to do a thing. Mm-hmm. Just in general, I mean, hey, it's a game. Play along.
Yeah.
That's going to be the theme of this episode. Play along.
Yeah, for sure.
So anyway.
Our next question comes from Corey on Facebook.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to mention this guy. He has a YouTube channel. It is called the Truly Evil Bob channel, I guess. Anyway, sorry.
And they ask, a spell or effect makes your PC act a certain way. You don't like this, so you don't play it. Are you a bad role player, or is fun the most important rule?
Let me give you an example. Let me use an example from another podcast, The Adventure Zone. I've talked about The Adventure Zone many, many times.
Sure.
There was in one of there isn't going to be anything spoilery in here, but in one of the last story arcs of their like big campaign that was like 2 years long or something. It was called the Balance campaign. There's a point where they're in the fight with like the big bad of that story arc. They have the big bad has this incredibly powerful artifact.
Spoilers.
And I mean, sure. Spoilers. So at one point, the dungeon master has the big bad use the magic item. What the artifact does has not been fully established at this point. But in the fight, Griffin, the DM, has the big bad use this artifact. And then he says so one of the players is Magnus. He says to the other two players, not Magnus, he says, Magnus turns to you and attacks you. So I don't remember exactly what he had Magnus do, but he had Magnus do something, or maybe he said something. Anyway, and Travis McElroy, being the player playing Magnus, what you can hear in his voice the like disgust when he says Magnus doesn't do that. And it might have been that he didn't understand what Griffin, the DM, was doing, But basically, the DM had some sort of a magical effect take control of what Magnus was doing. And Travis, the player, was clearly not happy with that.
Right.
He was not happy with his character doing something that he did not want the character to do.
Sure.
Now, I guess we're not really going to be getting into just taking away agency from the player, but if there is a magic effect, like if your character, like if I cast Dominate on you and then, let's not use Dominate because that's much more cut and dried. Let's say Charm. If I cast Charm Person on you, and then you're like, oh, well, no, I don't like this. This is the bad guy. I don't like him. I'm not going to treat him like a friend. The question here is, should you play along even if it's not fun? Or should you refuse to play along because because fun is the important thing? Now, fun is definitely the important thing.
Yeah.
But I have to say, I have to ask you, is your fun coming at the expense of other people's fun? Also, is your fun coming at the expense of the game?
Sure.
You can say, I don't want to do that because that is less fun for me. But if you can just not do something because it's not fun, I mean, why are you even playing a game with rules?
Yeah.
If one of the other players takes a bunch of damage, can they just say, no, I don't want to, I don't take that damage.
Yeah,
that's not
I'm
fun
just not going to, Yeah, I mean, because, it is in the rules. And
it's not a super simple, there isn't a very simple yes or no answer. So I'm not trying to say like, oh, you should always, you should always cooperate even when it's not fun.
I feel like this is one of those like yes and sort of situation. It's like you need to you play along is like, again, is sort of the theme of the episode here is like playing this. You gotta just play along. It's a game. Have fun.
Yeah.
I feel like people take their characters like morals and motives too seriously.
I can see that.
They are way too black and white with them.
Yeah. And we've talked about using it's what my character would do.
Yeah.
Like
we've talked it's sort of in that ballpark there.
Your character, let's just set this straight. Whether you are concerned about the integrity of your creation or not, 'cause that's an important thing, but whether or not that's what your motivation is, you made the character. You control the character. The character does what you want to do.
Yeah.
If something in the game makes it less fun for you, that can be a hard thing to do, but it really comes down to, like I was saying with the previous question, trust. Do you trust that the DM is being fair with you?
Right.
Do you trust that the DM is doing what they think will make for a better story or not?
Yeah. So, okay, remember your nightmare DM?
Yeah.
Like, if he did that, I wouldn't want him to do it because I know it was just going to lead to my character's death or something like that. Like
that's a good
if
point.
He was just like suddenly like, oh, your character is now under the control of this other thing and now you're attacking that. I'm like, okay, then I guess I can just leave because you're going to play my character for me.
Yeah.
But if it was you, I'd be like, all right, let's see where this goes. Like, figure, let's, all right. I attack my friend and I look very upset about it.
Sure. And yeah, it does come down to trust because when I think about it, I don't think I trusted him.
Right. Yeah. It's like, if it was somebody I didn't know or knew to be kind of a, sort of adversarial railroady, DM, I'd be like, all right.
Yeah. And I don't think that this is something that you should be doing your first time playing with a new group.
Sure.
Maybe just to be safe, maybe hold off on Charm Person or Dominate or whatever.
Yeah.
Now, I like the idea of Charm Person and Dominate and such. You don't see, especially Charm Person, you don't see it used on players often. And I think that is because a lot of players are very resistant to their agency being taken away. And if it's something like Dominate, that's pretty clear. You don't have a choice. This happens, but Charm Person kind of requires the player to play along.
Yeah, it is different. Yeah.
And so if you want the player to be doing something that is much more involved, then that does make you feel uncomfortable. Doing something, it's not just, oh yeah, sure, I roll and I attack my friend. But if it's like, no, I have to act like I like the bad guy, That's hard to do.
Yeah.
So again, I'm not trying to say that anyone should feel bad for being resistant to this, but I do want to, again, encourage players, play along.
Yeah.
Trust, as long as you trust the DM, play along, because hopefully it's not going to be long term. Hopefully it's not going to be in a way that can't be recovered from.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's the worry that their character isn't going to be doing anything cool. I don't know. It's like
that might be part of it.
If you're the one being dominated, then you're the chump, then you're like, you're the one that got used by the bad guy, and like
nobody likes to lose, and that feels like you've lost.
That feels like that feels like you've lost, and that feels like you're like, I don't know, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
I feel like for like in battle stuff, one way to kind of help alleviate some of that is like if you're having like, like one player attacks another player because of domination or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe don't have that like take away their turn fully or something like that.
Okay.
Because like I feel like it's like when you lose a turn and you're attacking your friend.
Yeah.
It's like that's a rough time. But if like when you're using dominate on like a player, because it's a player, they but you don't want to get rid of their agency completely. Maybe it's like on the bad guys, on the dominator,
sure,
the one on their initiative. That's when the player is like attacking or something like that. I don't know. I don't know the rules specifically on dominate. I just know like, and then like, yeah, charming is very vague and weird, and it's one of those things that like, on both sides, even if the player charms an NPC, an enemy NPC, like the DM can go, oh well, he just really hates you, so he's not gonna,
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Would the players be okay with that if the DM was like, oh no, he really doesn't like you, so he doesn't,
exactly,
even though he failed to save, he's still,
it's like I used up a spell slot, you failed your save, he is now friendly towards me. That's the rule. But the DM really wants this enemy to hate this person or to do this one thing. Sure.
Another thing that this kind of goes hand in hand with this is using skills like bluff or persuasion on players.
Right.
I can't remember if we've talked about this on the show, but I've talked about this with people before. I think that for the most part, you never see that happening. Like you never see players bluffing other players or an NPC using persuasion on a player.
Yeah.
And to an extent that does remove agency. I even want to say that in the third edition Player's Handbook, there was a rule that you cannot bluff a player.
Yeah.
Like if the player knows the truth, you cannot roll a bluff check to make the player character believe you.
Right.
There was some weird rule about you cannot change a player character's behavior with charisma-based skills. Something weird like that. And I just want to say again, play along.
Yeah.
Players, if another player is trying to bluff you, as long as they're not being a dick,
right,
play along. Like we've talked about, don't steal from the party or whatever. I don't like that. So in that case, I guess use your best judgment. But if a player is just like, they're trying to hide something from you because maybe they had an underhanded deal over here they don't want the party to know about yet, and they try to bluff you, play along.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a rule saying you don't have to, but even if there's a rule saying you don't have to, play along. Like this game it's meant to be fun, and little things like that, bluffing or charming a PC or whatever, things like that can lead to a lot of fun, a lot of drama, a lot of conflict of the interparty variety. It can be fun, but it's not going to be fun if you refuse to let it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think this is, everybody has their own individual story that they're trying to tell when it's really supposed to be a cooperative story.
There you go.
I feel like people have a storyline in mind for their character. Like you already have written your character's future, but that's not going to happen necessarily because of however the DM does it. And the DM has a very specific, way that they want the campaign to go and stuff like that. So like you got people eyeing their own individual prizes, and then somebody else comes in with their thing, and you're like, what? No, I don't want to do that.
And hey, I'm super guilty of that. Sure. I do that all the time.
Yeah, I feel like everybody does it to some extent. Like, it's because I mean, we're not hive minds, you know. Yeah. It's that's tough, but that's part of the, you know, that's part of the challenge of playing the game. It is playing along with everybody else's storylines. And really, just think, like, if it was just your story. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't be playing it with other people. Yeah. You wouldn't be rolling dice. You'd be just writing a story. Write it, you know, go and write a book. Like, in general, the game's fun comes from the fact that it's a collaborative work and that nobody knows how everything is going to go. Right. So just play along. Yep. Yeah. Our next question comes from Iris Robin on Reddit. Am I a bad player if I don't want my character to die permanently? So, just a little bit of context for this question. Iris Robin was asking, imagine you're in a campaign where it is revealed that, or it is explained to you at the beginning of the campaign that if you die, there's no resurrection. Sure. Because a lot of people don't like Raised Dead. They don't like resurrection for whatever reason. We're not here to, that's not what we're criticizing today. Sure. So Iris Robin was saying, if that is the case, are you a bad player if you decide not to play in that campaign for that reason? Because you might be one of the many people that gets really attached to your characters. Mm-hmm. And then when they die, that might make you not want to play anymore. And that might make you so upset that you wish you wouldn't have been in the campaign to begin with. Off the bat, no. I don't think, like, if you have a personal reason not to want to play in a campaign, that's your choice. And I don't think that makes you a bad player. Yeah, I don't think anybody should be considered a bad player because of their preferences. Right. If you went into that campaign and, like, made a stink about it the whole time you were playing, sure, that might make you a bad player. Maybe. Your behavior, I would say, is what makes you a bad player not, in that case. But yeah. In fact, I think it would be better to know going in or know before you begin whether this is going to be a deal breaker for you or not. Although I feel like that's an opportunity if you still want to play or maybe the group is trying to really get you to stick with it, make a throwaway character, you know, like you know, maybe don't put as much love into the character as you normally do, which can be hard. Yeah. And maybe by the time your character dies, you'll have attached yourself to it anyway. So or maybe just come up with some insane, like, suicidal. Character. I wouldn't say go that far, but I see what you're saying. But suicidal, not in the way like they're trying to kill themselves, but like do more daring things than you normally would because you know the character's gonna die anyway. Yeah, you're saying take chances you wouldn't have normally taken and see what you can get away with. You know, like I don't know, there's the that was like the halfling monk paladin that I made for when we were doing like the Tomb of Horrors, but we were doing like a roguelite sort of thing. So I was just like, you know, it's like we just kind of kept, you know, dying and trying again, but like, you know, try to make something that is tough to kill, but then put yourself into silly situations. That, I don't know. I feel like this isn't really answering the question, but you know, like if you're given a situation that you're not super, you know, into, but there's still pressure from your friends or something to play, like maybe try to like lean into it or something. Sure. You know, find a way to make it interesting for yourself. Yeah. But don't feel bad if it's just not your cup of tea and you have to sit it out. Yeah. To like, I think the question can be answered pretty quickly, but there's still more stuff to talk about beyond just the question. Yeah. The simple answer is you're not a bad player. Again, you're not a bad player just for your preferences. How you use those preferences, whether you still play but then make a stink or whatever, that can make you a bad player, but just your preferences would not make you a bad player. Now, if I were to give some advice to someone who was in a campaign and they were growing attached to their characters, again, I want to urge you to play along. It sucks to lose a character. It really, really does. But I think that players always want their characters to live forever. And that can be fun, but name a TV show that went on way too long. There's so many of them. Right. Pretty much every TV show that lasted more than like 3 seasons has gone on way too long. Yeah. Let me name a TV show, The Simpsons. Sure. It's been on for what?
70 years by now. And depending on who you talk to, there's a different number of how many seasons were good. But it is, I'm not saying that it is definitely true, but there is a huge percent of the American population, at least, that can agree that The Simpsons was good up until a point, and it just kept going, and it should have ended a long time ago.
Right, yeah.
Or maybe it shouldn't have ended, but it's definitely dipped in quality.
Yeah.
But the point is that yes, it sucks when a character dies, but I would say it sucks more when you play a character so long that you don't even remember what they were even about to begin with.
Right.
I think it is better for a character to die and then live on in your memory as that heroic, however they die. I mean, I guess not all deaths are heroic, but I think that it is a much more powerful thing to reminisce about, oh man, that character I played, oh man, it sucks that he died at that, I could have done some really cool stuff with him.
Yeah.
Than to be like, yeah, we just kind of kept playing and then the campaign just fell apart.
Right, yeah.
I hate to bring this up again because every time I do, people on the Discord get upset. But like I mentioned on one of our episodes several weeks ago, that, eventually there will be a day when our podcast is not making episodes anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And I would so much prefer for the end of the podcast to be, we knew we were going to end the podcast, we had lead up to it, we had a big finale, and then it was over, than for us to be one of the many podcasts that just one day you go and you check their feed and they just haven't had an episode in a while.
Right.
I have so many podcasts that I listen to that they are great. I love listening to them. And then I just notice, iTunes hasn't downloaded any of their episodes in a while. And then I listen to their last one and it's nothing special. It's just another episode.
Right.
And then it just ends.
Yeah.
And then it's just over.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? In the same way, I feel like same thing with campaigns that just end. The characters always feel unfinished.
Right.
Whereas every character I've played that died, at least they had an end.
Right.
It may not have been a great end, but I still get some form of enjoyment thinking about that character and wishing that character could have had more. Thinking about the unfulfilled potential of that character. It feels so much more tangible when the character died as opposed to when the campaign just went on and then never played anymore.
Yeah, it's just sort of like foggy at that point.
Yeah, and I'm not saying everybody else feels the same way I do, but I just want to, again, encourage players, play along. If your character dies, that sucks, but there is always a way to make the best of it.
Mm-hmm.
If it is a cold, hard truth that there is not going to be any way to resurrect that character, that's one thing. But if it's not necessarily set in stone, I don't know, maybe not as a PC, but maybe there's a way that, like, after the campaign does end, you can come up with your own stories of how that character was brought back to life and then the adventures they had. Or, hey, give your character an afterlife.
Yeah.
When your character dies, play out the afterlife or write a short story about their afterlife.
Sure.
Just because they died doesn't mean that their story has to end. This is a game with a multiverse, with planes of existence where you might go on living with your deity for all eternity.
Yeah, your character ends up in the in the 9 hells or something.
There you go.
Like, oh, okay. Well, now he's in the 9 hells. What happens next?
Yeah.
You just write that story.
Sure. So the end of a character, whether it comes from a death or from the end of a campaign, never has to be the end of the character. As long as you still love the character, you can always you can always come up with things to do with that character, even if it is the afterlife. I guess maybe there's a way something could happen to your character that would forbid them from having an afterlife or whatever. But then you can write a story about a character who found a way to retrieve their soul or whatever. I don't know. The character only ends when you let it end, whether they died or not.
Right.
So I don't know. And I guess DMs if you don't think that your players like the idea of there not being resurrection, maybe think about playing along with them. I don't want to tell anybody how to play their game, but like try to find other ways. I'm always in favor of letting there be resurrection, but find other ways to create tension.
Right.
Because if I feel like death is the easiest and cheapest way to create tension, fear of death is It's the easiest way, but it is also the cheapest way.
Yeah.
So if you can find a way to create tension that is, well, if my character dies, that's not the worst part of this. There is something else that is far worse. That's why my character can't die. I have to save this entire town of people. If I die in the process, so be it. But the important thing is completing the task. I would rather die and complete the task than live and not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Creating that sort of thing. It's harder as a DM. It's harder as a writer, but it will ultimately be much more satisfying. You know? Yeah. So you're not a bad player if you don't want your character to die permanently.
Right. That makes for an interesting character if you're still playing it.
Sure.
If you're like, if you're like, I mean, like who isn't afraid of it? Who wants to die? No one.
Sure.
So, just play that up.
Yeah. And like you were saying, Jeff, make a character you never would have made otherwise.
Sure.
If you always get attached to your characters and therefore you don't want to make that character you've always wanted to make, don't make that character you've always wanted to make. Make the goof character that you just thought of.
Like the cliche dumb barbarian.
Like the shoulder, who's the only things he can say are the shoulder. Or another joke character I came up with was the pirate that summons a demonic pirate ship that's like 4 feet long.
Right, there was like the summoner class or something like that.
Yeah, summoner and Pathfinder. I would never play that in an actual campaign that had stakes. But in a one-off, I would love to play that character that rides around on a 4-foot-long pirate ship.
Yar!
Exactly. So yeah, make a goofy character instead of a serious character. And then it doesn't matter if they die because, hey, you got to try out something you never would have tried otherwise.
Yeah, a good way to like test builds or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. So you're not a bad player. Just try to find a way to make the best of whatever it is you end up doing.
Sure.
So, all right. Well, that'll do it for our normal questions for today, but we do still have our weekly social media questions. So the previous question that we had, which actually as of this episode going out will have been a couple weeks ago because we had a week without them. But the question was, favorite school of magic. Do you recall what your answer was, Jeff?
I had actually said necromancy, but as you'd pointed out, like transmutation was definitely my top one for a while. But I feel like more recently it's been necromancy.
Yeah, and I think I said conjuration.
Yeah, I think so.
There's a lot of cool stuff conjuration can do. So we got a few responses, and most of them were pretty short. So
I think those would definitely be my top 3: is conjuration, transmutation, necromancy.
Sure. If I would say top 2, probably conjuration and evocation. I do think evocation is a blasting. It's a lot of fun. On Facebook, I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Romine says evocation, bashing your real and imaginary armies with lightning, fire, ice, and acid.
Nice.
There you go. Brandon says illusion, bring your imaginary army to the fight. Hal says conjuration, bring your own army to the fight. I don't know if the 3 of these coordinated or what.
Yeah, what did they do?
I don't know. Lath says...
What is this, a Reddit thread?
Maybe. Lath says all of them. It really depends on the mood I'm in. I love making characters. I mean, who doesn't? And I never make the same character twice. I try and switch things up as much as possible. So when it comes to the choice of School of Magic, that's my favorite. It's whatever fits the build I made at the time, and I really do like all of them. Sure. So pretty,
lazy answer. Come on.
I guess not non-committal is what I would have said.
You go for like I don't know. You go for general.
Yeah, sure. Adam B on Discord says necromancy because why make a family when you can just raise one? But Jason says as a DM probably illusion or enchantment. As a player conjugation for sure. And then he corrected it as conjuration. I think I made a comment about that later on. Total Doom Oz, which
that's Justin.
think is Justin.
That's Justin.
Says conjuration hands down. Oh, you need an item? I got a spell for that.
Yeah.
Noah Wizard says, I have a few splat books for different schools of magic from 3.5. The only one I really still have visceral memories of is the illusion book. They made it feel like real magic and not just a trick. And then Jason added on, it took him a long time to figure out how to make illusions work as a DM. In his last campaign, the party teleported back to just outside the base. When they got there, the base was smolders and their allies' bodies and weapons strewn all about. They were freaked. However, it was the hallucinatory terrain spell. Ooh. As they freaked out and ran to their friends, the black dragon who'd cast it lined them up for his breath weapon.
Ooh.
So there you go. And I replied to that. Illusions are definitely one of the harder ones to adjudicate because when they work, there's almost no limit to what they can do.
Right.
So,
yeah. It's
illusions are cool, but it is hard to tell what to do with them.
It's a tough one to do mechanically for sure. Same with enchantment too.
Sure. Vincent said, I'm a transmuter all the way. Hard to not be when I'm addicted to shape-shifting.
Oh, yeah.
Deborah Soar said, necromancy, there's nothing more fun than having minions with silly names slowly growing in number that make the rest of the party uncomfortable. Oh, that's just Mittens, Sprinkles, Dior, Prada, and Flurb. Don't worry about them.
It's just like a couple shambling zombies.
Yeah.
Well, that's Mittens.
Right. Over on Twitter, just got a couple responses. Justin, actually, again, from Crit Academy says, Conjuration takes the cake. The amount of random crap you can just poof into existence is ridiculous. Had a melee fighter / wizard that conjured weapons before the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide. At level 7, he was a teleportation machine since the transposition can be reset by Misty Steps. That's an ability that Conjuration wizards get.
Oh, cool.
And then T, the beverage, replied Hogwarts.
Oh, yeah.
So, I put a
facepalm.
Little bitmoji of a facepalm. I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah. Why didn't I say that? That's good.
I don't know. And then over on Reddit, Hoosier Trip says, Evocation, Fireball. Need I say more?
Right.
And Stiltskin Kupo 84 says, Divination is my go-to. Having more info always helps the party make smarter choices.
Sure.
So, yeah. We got a good assortment there.
Yeah, I feel like divination's really good. I mean, like, it used to sort of be like the stepchild of the magic schools.
Kind of. In third edition, it was like it was explicitly called out as being weaker than the rest.
Right, yeah. Like when you took a school specialization in third edition, you had to
you had to give up two schools.
Yeah, you had to give up 2 schools to specialize in one, but with divination you only had to give up 1 school.
Yeah, which actually made it super powerful because the benefits of specializing was that you got an extra slot per day of each level of your chosen school.
Right.
And the question is, when are you not going to be casting at least one divination spell?
Sure.
So if you just use the extra slot for whatever divination spell you were going to be casting,
you just always have clairvoyance on.
It's a free slot basically, and you only give up 1 school instead of 2.
Right.
So.
But I mean, just in general, being able to figure out what's on the other side of a door or something like that, I feel like that's going to streamline party decisions better.
Sure.
Like when you know what's behind the door, it's not going to take you 30 minutes to line up just right and say, "Oh wait, no, I'm going to no, you stand on the left side of the door. You stand on the right side of the door. I'm going to pull on the handle. Wait, no, you have more hit points, so maybe you should pull on the handle."
And then when you can look a little bit in the future and see the barbarian is about to just bash the door down,
right?
Then you can at least be ready when they bash the door down.
Or you use cast a simple spell and the room is empty, guys, and the door is unlocked. We could just go in.
Sure.
That's like the DM internal screaming is happening. Yes. It's like, just go through the door.
Yeah. So yeah, as Stiltskin Kupo 84 said, more info is always a good thing. Always helps make you help you make better choices.
Yep.
So that was last week's social media question. So then this week's social media question is, you can have one iconic magic item in real life. What do you choose and why?
Oh, see, I read this and I didn't realize it was iconic.
Well, iconic is it's up to you to define that. It is explicitly left vague.
Sure. So because I did go thumbing through the Dungeon Master's Guide to see okay. I think the easiest one for me would be the Periaptive Health.
Okay.
You are immune to all diseases, and it suppresses any disease that you have.
That's pretty good.
I mean, as far as just a mortal human, that's an easy choice. It's okay, I don't have to worry. I am going to grow old, and is age technically a disease?
I don't think so, because I think it would probably
as far as science
aging
says.
I guess it's not science though, Jeff. It's magic.
But although later, when your description of this discussion question, you said bring whatever physics you want.
Okay. Good point.
So it could potentially make you immortal. Potentially.
Okay.
But it's immortal that you can switch off by just taking off the necklace. So if you're just done, you're all right. Or you could use it to like save a loved one or something like that. You know, it's like, well, you know, I've been immune to disease from half of my life because of this thing. I'll be fine, but this person's really sick right now. Give them the hand.
So you take it off, and then suddenly you realize you have no immunity to any of the the bacteria on the planet, and you just explode.
You just melt. Yep. but the one that I really wanted to do was the cubic gate.
Okay.
Which is just a 6-sided cube, and it's got a button on it.
Wait, what? A 6-sided cube? Who could find a use for such an object?
I don't know.
Sorry, you just dropped something. Go on.
But it's just like it basically has a button on each side that corresponds to a different plane.
Yeah.
But it's like, what would planes be in like, and it doesn't specify in the item description which planes it is. It would basically be up to the DM what planes go, you know, which side goes where, that sort of thing. But in any case, you can basically use it to teleport anywhere in a roundabout way. But if, you know, in my mind, I'm like, okay, maybe at least one of those planes could be like a pocket dimension or something. It could be like a personal plane that I could use. I could store all my stuff, you know? Like,
gotcha.
It's like,
yeah.
You know, because I also thought about a portable hole, because those are actually kind of neat, because it's basically a 6-foot diameter, but it's 10 feet deep.
Yeah, and the bag of holding is restricted by weight. Like, you know, it does have a set maximum dimensions, but it can only hold so much weight. The portable hold does not.
Yeah,
it's just whatever will fit in that space.
Yeah, it's basically just a pit you can bring everywhere. Yeah. You know, and then you fold it up into little handkerchief size. So it's like, you know what I could do? So I could put like my computer desk down there. I could put like a bed down there, you know, and then just like have like an extension cord that comes out of it, you know?
Sure.
So I could just like wherever I am, just plop it down on the ground, run the extension cord to like a plug or something. It's like you get a cheap motel, but then you got all your stuff with you.
Yeah.
You know? You just plug it into the wall in the motel. You know? So, because But then I joked I wanted, it's like, you know what, I want the key from the lost room.
Sure.
Which is basically just it's gates. That's basically, yeah. You have a little pocket dimension. I was trying to find something to give me a pocket dimension, because I think that's what I would get the most use out of. Because if I don't have to like, if I could still go places but still have my stuff,
that would be pretty nice.
Like, because I hate leaving my house, because that's where my stuff is.
At one point in time, I probably would have had a similar answer, but nowadays, honestly, I would. Because I wouldn't want something that would change my life too much. I like my life. I think my life's pretty good. But one thing that is like a day-to-day difficulty for me is transportation, because I spend like, in a given workday, I spend about 3 hours commuting.
Right, yeah.
And it's awful.
Yeah.
So it's like 3 hours. Imagine if you got asked to work 3 hours overtime every day, but you didn't get paid for it.
Yeah. So like helm of teleportation.
Yeah, maybe the helm of teleportation.
Yeah. But yeah, some sort of teleportation would be really good.
Yeah, just to be able to teleport to my work and then back. I mean, I'm not saying just to teleport to work, but like...
Yeah, like that's the kind of...
To be able to go anywhere. Like if it's the weekend, I can teleport to, I don't know, Hawaii for the weekend.
Right, I just like,
awesome.
Pop over to Hawaii.
Yeah.
Or, you know, if you got enough charges saved up, you're like, okay, let's go get some... I want pizza, but I don't want Little Caesars. And you pop over to Italy.
I was just thinking, no, there's the pizza place on the other side of town. I don't want to drive. Got a freaking helm of teleportation, Jeff. What are you talking about?
Just, you know, like if you want some like really good food, you know, you pop over to it's the country that makes your favorite food, I guess.
Right. This is actually a hard question, because there are a lot of things that I think could improve my life, and it's hard to pick one. Because it'd be cool to have like a broom of flying or a carpet of flying or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
like being able to fly would be awesome.
But it's do I pick that, or do I pick something that can get me across the world instantly?
Like I feel like being able to fly would be a lot of fun and would be helpful in a lot of situations, but like it also draw more attention.
That's true.
I feel like teleporting eventually might draw attention if you're crazy, if you go willy-nilly with it.
Sure.
But it's teleportation. Like you just you duck into a bathroom and teleport somewhere else.
Hey, look over there. I'm gone.
Yeah, exactly. You Batman out of there.
Sure.
Yeah. He had teleportation, right?
I mean, pretty much.
It's like you You look to the left and you turn back.
He doesn't go through the window, but there has to be an open window.
Right.
That's the material component for the spell. All right. So that was a discussion question for this week.
Yeah.
So before we close out, let's wind down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Let's relax. Let's sit back. Let's take a deep breath. Let's remember those who have come before us,
mm-hmm.
who have maybe given their lives so that we may live in a better world,
mm-hmm.
possibly with magic items.
Yeah.
Who knows? Anyway, so let's remember those that have come before us as we toss another log onto the funeral pyre. So this week's funeral pyre is from, on Discord, it is from Jordan. I think I'm pronouncing that right. It's got an H at the end.
That's my din.
Jordan.
No, maybe it's just Jordan H.
Oh, maybe. I'm never sure if someone does not have like a stereotypical American name. I always just assume, that can't be a name. That's got to be a. That's
a reference.
An anagram
to
for something.
Yeah.
So if that is your name,
it's like, what?
Sir, I apologize.
What anime is that from? Like,
well, anyway, so Jordan says, not a player death, but a loved NPC. Mm-hmm. So I think we can accept that.
Those ones hurt the most, I think.
Yeah. Well, strap in, Jeff. Early campaign with a rogue and a ranger, I introduced an elderly cleric.
Oh no.
Uriel Nightbreaker.
Oh no.
My plan was to have him as a DMPC. I know people don't like that all the time. Who basically just healed and buffed occasionally whilst they were familiarizing themselves with their options. He was part of an organization that worked against the Drow and their attempts to reclaim the surface. Well, after a battle in the church where an Ettercap was sent to kill him, they were tasked with delivering a drift globe and warning or protecting him, after frequently describing how he was using his own life to fuel the powerful magic item he was using to support them in the battle. They ended up winning against the Ettercap to meet one of the Drow who was in charge of the Ettercap. After a series of poor rolls and choices that somewhat put them in a corner, Uriel took an arrow to the neck and died before he could convey his warnings of the danger to come, that I had kind of intended to be a font of knowledge for them. They attempted to protect his body from the Drow who wanted it. They never found out why. However, in their fleeing from the Drow, they threw his body into the inn, which did not go down well as the Drow was nowhere to be found, and they had not made many friends in town. They're still not over the loss of Uriel, nor the sore feelings of being accused of being the people who killed him to begin with.
Oh, that's no fun.
Yeah. So I guess let's raise a glass in memory of Uriel, who reminds us not to throw dead bodies into inns, I guess.
Clink?
Question mark.
Clink with a little lilt in it.
I guess that's just a bad idea.
Yeah.
Tossing dead bodies around.
Yeah.
So that'll do it for today. To submit questions for us to discuss, items for the Dragon's Hoard, or stories for the funeral pyre, please email us at interpartyconflict@gmail.com. For show notes, links to media mentioned on the show, and running lists of questions and magic items, go to interpartyconflict.com. Join the discussion on social media. Find us on Facebook, facebook.com/interpartyconflict, on Reddit at r/interpartyconflict, on our Interparty Discord, which you should join.
Oh, yeah.
If you have not joined already.
Yeah.
You can find the link on our Facebook or on Reddit, or just contact us. Or you can find us on Twitter at InPartyConflict for our weekly social media questions. Your answers might end up on the show. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, YouTube, anywhere you download podcasts. Please rate, review, subscribe, or just tell a friend. If you'd like to support the show, check out the rewards at patreon.com/interpartyconflict. There's a few different tiers, so anything you can spare, even $1 a month, would go towards making the show better, and you'll get bonus content for it. Jeff, tell us about FriendQuest.
FriendQuest is a YouTube channel where we play video games.
Yes, and speaking of video games, check out my side project, the Arcade Memories Podcast. If you'd like to submit your own childhood memories of going to the arcade, record them or write them to me at arcadememoriespodcast@gmail.com. Also, head over to bit.ly/interpartyconflict to take a short survey about our show, what you like, what you don't like, etc. And just for taking it, you'll get 2 free printable board games courtesy of Mary and Tom over at hollandspiel.com. And our music is made by Boxcat Games from Nameless the Hacker's RPG. So, Jeff, until next time,
play along.
There you go.